So, this is a movie review for Christians about the movie called Blind Spotting. And as I always say, pray the movies. This one has a lot of material to pray for or about, but it's also, I found the movie very difficult to watch, um, offensive to a lot of my values, especially with the hyper excessive use of the F word. It was very, I mean, I don't know, I have to count it. I actually made a little mark every time they used the F word. And it had to be in the hundreds. And not only the F word, but the MF word. I don't know why they think this is necessary, but I guess they think that's realism. And then also the N word. And so that's also used a lot of times, but they use it instead. They use it the NIGGA. It's just kind of become a word that they throw around among African American culture. But in this one, in this film, there's actually a white character, and it takes place in Oakland, which is largely has a large African American population, of course. But they're also experiencing a lot of so-called gentrification, where wealthier people are moving into these neighborhoods and because they can get lower rent or lower buy houses for less in the Bay Area, and so it's causing a lot of conflict and tension in the movie. Anyways, I don't know about real life, but this is another of the steady diet of Hollywood movies that try to, you know, exaggerate. I think exaggerate the black-white tension and the black issues in the inner city, and how they've not only been historically abused or as slaves, but still today. And then also it's a steady diet of Hollywood bashing on whites. And they must have found a niche there that white guilt, people with white guilt, like to be they have sort of a masochistic need there to be assuaged every now and then. So we got to keep coming out where they mock white people, and the white people in the audience probably say, "Oh yeah, we were so bad. That's right. We still are. We got to be better." I don't like these films. Didn't really find it. That There was one good moment though, and I'll get to that I remember, because I think about this a lot myself, and it had to do with a car alarm. But in terms of um, it's also about white police and how they're so bad and stupid and idiots, and and then there's a lot of jokes about white people trying to emasculate them. Similar to that one I just saw, I think it's called, um, it's about that telemarketer, a black telemarketer, and using his so-called white voice, like a little baby white boy. And they use the word white boy as a, pejorative to really insult white people. In this movie, the white guy who actually grew up in Oakland, his best friend is a black guy. They're the two main characters. Um, he kind of thinks of himself as black, or he kind of talks black and fits in with the black culture. So one day he meets a black guy who doesn't know that he's from Oakland, and the black guy says, "You don't have to talk ghetto here, you know. Just be yourself." And that really ticked off this guy. His name was Miles. Miles and Colin. Miles is the white guy. Colin is the black guy. And a fight ensues, and he has a gun. Miles has a gun. You know, nobody gets killed in this case, but they also show a scene where before, I mean, the movie starts with Colin, the black guy, getting out of prison. He had committed some kind of felony. Now he's on parole or probation, I guess. Yeah, probation. So he's uh he's in a special, like, I don't know, like halfway house or whatever. He has to do his time there for a year, I guess, and he's coming down to the end of it. So he's got like 3 or 4 days left as the movie begins to stay out of trouble. If he gets in trouble, he goes back to prison, or probation gets extended or something, whatever. There'll be repercussions. So he has to stay out of trouble. He doesn't want to get he he can't have a gun, obviously. He's got friends, including Miles, who are into the gun thing. And he keeps saying, no, no, I don't want, keep me away from there, and I got to stay. And he has a curfew, he has to be in at a certain time. And they work together, Miles and Colin, as truck driver, as movers. They move people's stuff, in a truck, just locally, not long distance. So every day they go out, they get assigned a job, and they go out and move some stuff here and there. And they talk and joke around, and use their F word conversations and this and that, and N word conversations, and it gets pretty boring and predictable. That's a that's the biggest problem. It's just predictable. You've seen this formula before in these movies. So, but the liberals will love it, and especially white guilt liberals, and they'll really say, "Oh, this is really profound," I didn't feel that way. I mean, there was one I could say maybe profound moment where the black guy. See, the black guy Colin, he witnessed a white cop shooting a black person who was fleeing, running away from the cop. The cop shot him as he was running away, which is obviously not allowed. But he gets away with it, and Colin witnessed it but couldn't say anything because he's out past his curfew, and he's a felon. He's an ex-felon, I guess. Um, so he doesn't say anything, but he's angry about it. And at the very near the end, they happen to be moving somebody's uh, house stuff out of their house, and just happens to be the house of that cop who he saw shoot the black guy. And Colin has been so good all this time, whereas Miles, the white guy, sort of the ghetto white guy or white trash guy, has been the bad one. Colin's been good, and so Colin has this moment where he confronts the cop, and he even has a gun. He has Miles' gun, and you think he might shoot the cop, but he doesn't. He starts doing a rap, a profound rap. That maybe the most profound moment if you can get a transcript of that rap. And I'll give the white guilt liberals. I'll give them that moment. That was a decent moment. Oh, decent for the act. Pretty good for the actor too to memorize that rap. I wonder how many takes they had to do. As the white cop sits there and tears come to his eyes, he feels guilty for what he did. There's another moment that was pretty sickening where they're at a bar, and this was before Colin was in jail. It's a flashback scene. Colin was a bouncer at a bar, and his white friend Miles, is just hanging out with him, next to him. And there's a white guy who comes. They call him a white boy from Colorado. He comes into that bar, orders one of the biggest, most expensive drinks, and then he takes it outside, which is not allowed. So the bouncer, it's a flaming drink, as like they light part of it on fire. The bouncer, Colin, tells him, you got to take the drink back inside. You can't have it out here. And there's a little bit of a conversation that becomes antagonistic, and Colin loses his cool, and the white guy from Colorado kind of pushes back, and then Miles, the white trash guy, who Colin calls, refers to him as the N-word on a regular basis in a friendly way. Uh, Miles gets involved, and Miles really adds fuel to the fire, and they really just beat this guy to a pulp. And that drink, that flaming drink, starts the guy's clothes on fire, so he's partially on fire as well. It's not clear what happened to either of them for that incident, if the police arrived or if they just got off scot-free for that. I don't know, but it was a flashback scene, so it was kind of ambiguous. But that's another example. I bring that up because this is a regular part of white guilt movies now, where they use black people to mock white people and try to emasculate white people. And if you get called a white boy, that's like the N-word. If a black person calls you a white boy, especially in a certain tone, that's like the N-word. It's like really demeaning, emasculating. It takes all your virility away, your virility. And so I just I just really don't like these films. I don't learn anything from them anymore because we've seen so many of them, and I could probably find the names of the previous ones that are pretty much like this. But for Christians, all I can say is that we can continue to pray for and work toward better race relations, but a lot of times we're being jerked around. To my fellow white Christians, we're just being jerked around. There's a certain segment of the minority population who need to keep racism alive. They need to, or at least keep the accusation of it alive. And that's the sad thing about it. It's just being used to jerk us around. And so, better than pretending to pray for or strive for better race relations, the goal might be better just to continue to strive for conversion and evangelism and leading people to Christ. And fulfilling the Great Commission as we're called to do. Now, the final thing I wanted to say, I mentioned the car alarm. There was a moment, and this happens a lot. I see this too much. It's sickening. People use their car alarms for virtue signaling. And this guy gets out of his car. Colin and Miles are standing there eating by their truck, and the guy keeps beeping his car, like beep, beep, beep. And so Miles finally says, "Yeah, we get it, man. We know, we know your car has an alarm, man. It's pretty fancy." Mocking the guy, and that was a good one. That was my favorite moment of the whole film because I see this so often. People get out of there, beep, 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 over and over, and you're just getting sick of it. We know you have a car alarm. That's cool, man. Stop it. We should make a law about that. Too many beeps. And stop all the beeping altogether, for that matter, for goodness sake. So God be with you all and bless you. I would say avoid this film. It's pretty meaningless. Just pray for better race relations and work for more evangelism and fulfilling the Great Commission. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.